This is a video help that is being used to describe MyCodebook Pro version 12. The application itself was designed in FileMaker Pro Advanced, and this is a runtime application. The purpose of this application, I'm going to go back up to the first record, is to document programming and/or any aspect of an application where you're developing the application itself, or there is another use. And for example, in this case, I took documentation and broke down each element of a manual by its individual subject group as far as the information to describe how to use it. It also is used to take, for example, a application and then how the code is going to be used. Where is the layout that you're working on, as far as, are you doing the whole application and describing it in the individual portal records? And also what it could be is the layout design. So for example, if you're taking one screen, you can document one screen and one aspect of the programming and then break down all the code elements that help that screen to work. It might be one or more, it could be 1,000, depending on how you needed to document the information. Now the purpose of this application really is to do just that, to take some development that you're doing, either in a thing like this is a database. If I were doing something where I'm doing a CBT course or I'm doing something else, I would list the information in the top fields up here. For example, what design version it is, what was it authored in, and what programming language was used, and then what the description of or main topic areas that I might be covering as far as that particular design is concerned. If I were writing for example, a simple application like this, I could put in there that this is a code block definition and editing where programming is covered in detail to describe the way that the application is used. Now, because I'm taking the general information about this segment of what I'm doing, these would be the individual elements that I wanted to cover. For example, if I wanted to cover a specific piece of syntax and what code variations there might be in that syntax, and if there are any limits that might cause that code to not function correctly depending on where it's used and how it's used, I'd put it in the code limits. The top fields for this record, where this is one record for that information, would be the ID number that matches the code ID for this record, because if it changes like to number 2 by adding a new record, then this would be a breakdown on a new project that I'm working on. The code type, in this case the code type could be any description that describes the code as far as how or what the code is as far as you're using it. In this case, I'm using a product called LiveCode. I could be using the FileMaker programming language. The code usage, this would be a breakdown of where it's used to do what. What is it being used on? Then the code purpose. What is the outcome and the preamble to what this code is doing? Is it dropping down a menu? Is it editing a field, or is it running a portal, or whatever it's doing? Is it doing some special task? And that would be documented here. Now, these portal records are infinite. You could put as many in as you wanted to for this project that you're working on. The same thing goes for the tabs, which I'll be covering here in a second, is how those work. But in essence, what you're doing is these individual portal records describe one task or one element of the programming that you're doing that you want to track. You can do just one if you wanted to, like I said before, or you can break down an entire project or an entire piece of software if you wanted to. So it's up to you how you break it down. You can obviously take pieces of code from other areas or that are related to the application or layout that you're doing, and then add those in as a reference in how somebody else did it, so that you can come back to that, and if you ever wanted to use it in the future, you would know how to find it. The application in this case has a portal record individual record, and if you click on the portal button at the end of the row or within any portal, what it'll do is show you the larger screen view, so you can see the information in those fields in a larger view. In this case, there's a piece of live code where the handler and information on how to code that handler is in this area. Now, I'm going to show you that you can use the find in this particular screen. You cannot use it in the actual portal record, but you can use it in the individual portal record, which is the one we're viewing now. If you click on find, and in this case, there was a piece of code that was a phrase that was do special. Now, I'm going to show you that I can put either do or even add S-P-E-C-I-A-L. Whoops, in this case, it lost the do. No, there it is, it's still there. Using the syntax or any piece of it, I can find that wherever it occurs throughout all the code. So if I went in there and I said perform the find, it'll drop in that piece of code. If there was more than one place where this occurred, you could look up here and it would say one or more of these out of 254 different record areas for these individual records, there was one that had that information. If there was 2 or 3 or 4, you would see that. And in that case, what you could do is cycle through the records, because these two backward and forward buttons would be highlighted and allow you to move through them. Now, anytime you do a find and you're looking for a piece of information, always go back when you get done using it and then click to show all. And as you'll notice, you'll see that this changed up here, that now I'm showing all 254 records. If you do not do the show all again from that, what will happen is when you go back to look at all the records, they're not going to be there. Only the one that you did the find on. If you want to use this application where you want to hide the top menus, you can click this and it will hide the top menus. You can click it again and then it'll show the top menus. Now, I'm going to point out a few things. When I go back, I'm going to use this back button to the application information. You'll see that there's an interface at the top where you have a new record button. There's also in the main screen of the main programming app, in this case FileMaker, that there is a new and delete. You do not use these up at the top. These are all in there to be used in the main interface, so that when you're using this application, this is covered in this application, okay? And for this particular screen, if you do not see a new record in this screen or new record button, that indicates that you're not supposed to create new records in that screen. For example, you do not go into a portal individual record and create it there. You always create it in the portal. Okay, to perform the find and everything, you can still do all that in this record and show and hide it. So those are the main things here in this record. If you wanted to do importing, you can import data from a file, or you can export it to a file from this application. You could also do other things, for example, find and replace, copy, and so forth, using the records at the top. You can also add a new record, to duplicate or delete all records. I don't recommend you do any of these unless you know what you're doing. In that case, you could use the help, which is built in, to identify how you can do that. Now, this particular application is running on the Mac. The same application can run on the PC, or it can be a standalone application where it runs under other types of programming. Now, this particular video help that you're watching is in this video help button. If you click this one, I'm going to be describing the tabs and the tab fields and portals. Go to the next video help for more information. Thank you.